That's our answer. We are done. Now the next question. Okay, so now this one is a slightly complicated question. At the first, at the face of it, you might find it slightly difficult, but it's very easy. So see, there are 630 students in total, and they're all arranged in rows like this. Okay, so 3, 4, 5, and let's say this. So there are 6 rows, just like this. And why I am taking up to 6 rows? Because I am going by the options. The options has rows from 3 to 6. Okay. So in order to cover the maximum number of rows, I have taken 6 rows. So now imagine if the first row has n, the second row will have n plus 3, n plus 6, n plus 9, n plus 12, n plus 15. Yeah, because it says that every row in front has 3 fewer children. So if you start with n, every consequent row will have 3 more, 3 more, 3 more. Now a lot of you might start solving this question using arithmetic progression and all of that, get into the summation and squaring and finding out, which becomes very difficult. In mathematics, it is a very highly effective technique to use the options. So here, let's see. We start off by the first option. So we'll go by the options and check quickly. Okay. So, but my sum, the total number of children remains 630, and the number of children in each row must be an integer number, because you cannot have a half kid or a 1/3 kid in any of the rows. So the number of kids in each of the rows needs to be an integer, and that is our check. So for the first 3 rows, we will see it's 3n plus 9. It should be equal to 630. Now 3n becomes 621. And 6 plus 2 plus 1 is 9. It is divisible by 3, therefore it is an integer. We are not going any further. It is done. So yes, there can be 3 rows. Therefore this is not the answer, because the question asks what number of rows is not possible. Now we will check up to 4 rows. So it makes it 4n plus 18 equal to 630. So 4n becomes equal to 612. Again, last 2 digits, they are divisible by 4, therefore n is an integer. We don't need to check any further. So 4 also is not the answer. Now 5. All we need to do is just add n plus 12 to this. It becomes 5n plus 30 equal to 630. Again, I already know that 630 minus 30 is 600, so n's got to be an integer. So I leave it here. Automatically at this stage 6 becomes your answer, because you've eliminated the first 3. Unfortunately, we started off with 3. So just for the sake of clarity, we'll also check it out for 6. So we'll add up everything and it will become 6n plus, we had already got 5n plus 30, so n plus 15, it becomes 6n plus 45. It should be equal to 630, and 6n here becomes equal to 585. Now this is an odd number and 6 is an even number. All the multiples of 6 will be even, therefore n is not an integer, and therefore total number of rows, which is not a possibility, is 6. So I did all of it only to explain it to you guys, but actually you can do it really fast here, and you can use the options and eliminate answers. Now we'll get into the next question. Alright, so now this is the probability question, and a lot of you might again start using formula etc. for this, and I keep repeating that for permutation, combination or probability questions, you should never use formula. You should always go by counting, unless it is unless it is very required. Okay, so there is a die. Okay, so there is a die, and we know that a die has basically 6. There are 6 things that can come when you roll a die. That is 1, 2, 6. Okay. Now the question asks that we are rolling a die twice, and the probability that sum of the numbers on the 2 faces should be 5. So the possible, this is the first chance, this is the second chance. So the sum must be 5. So we must get 1 and 4, 2 and 3, 3 and 2, and again 4 and 1. So these are the 4 possible cases. Okay, so and the total number of possibilities when you roll a die twice is 36. Okay, and how do we get that? So let's say the first die gets 1, and corresponding to that one, if you roll the die twice, you can get any number from 1 to 6, so that makes it 6, and correspondingly you get 36 possibilities. So your base becomes 36, that is for sure. Now we'll move ahead. Now what is the probability of the first die showing 1? It's 1 by 6, and the second die showing 4, that also is 1 by 6. But here we will not get into the fundamentals of conditional probability, and we will not use those formula which are there in the books, because we have already listed down these 4 possibilities, and these are the only possibilities for which the sum of the numbers on the two faces will be equal to 5, and these possibilities are how many? 4. So the probability that the sum of the numbers on two faces will be 5 will be nothing but 4 by 36, which is 1 by 9. So for all the answers and the possible formula that you might be mugging up, it's not actually required. It's a simple counting exercise. So we are done with it again very quickly. So if you understand the concepts of basic counting, see, if I were to do these questions, I knew that the total number of possible cases is 36, and since the sum has to be 5, it is 1 4 2 3 3 2 4 1, and these are the 4 cases. So 4 by 36, it becomes 1 by 9. Very quickly, inside I think 10 seconds I will have the answer if I understand counting. Now I'll move on to the next question. Now this is a slightly tricky question, and it is definitely a time consuming question. So in the first attempt you must not try to attempt these sort of questions, because the data is kind of incomplete, and you must understand a few basic concepts and then only try to attempt these questions. So what the question is asking you to do is that there are 2 trains, okay, departing from Patna and Howrah at the same time, okay, and let us say this train which leaves Patna starts off at a velocity of v1, this starts at a velocity of v2, they meet somewhere here, okay. So the time taken, and both the trains start at the same time, okay. So let us say after time t, both these trains meet. So this train takes a time of t to reach this point A, okay. This train also takes a time of t to reach this point A, and then they meet. After that, what happens is that the Howrah train reaches Patna in 9 hours. So this distance is covered by Howrah train in 9 hours, and this distance is covered by the Patna train in 16 hours. And what we have been asked to find the ratio of their speeds. Now always understand and take it as a concept that whenever the distance is fixed, okay, the time and speed are always inversely proportional. So for instance, if there is a fixed distance of 10 kilometers, you are going with a speed of 10 kilometers per hour, you will take what? 1 hour. If you double the speed, let's say 20 kilometers per hour, you will halve the time. You will take half an hour. If you halve the speed, you will double the time. So that's the concept that we are going to use, and for all your speed, time, distance questions, this is one fundamental that you must always use, and we'll see how we use it here, okay. So now we see that this speed here, this distance here, let's call it d1, and then let's call it d2, okay. So this distance here is fixed, and it is covered by this train in time t, okay, because it already covered this distance in time t, and the other train covered the same distance in time 9 hours, okay. So we can easily say that so for this particular part, what we'll do is we'll find out the ratios. So v1 is nothing by, let's say, d1 by t, okay, and v2, which is the speed of this train, is nothing by t1 by 9. Okay. Now if I have to find out v1 by v2, and that is what the question is asking us to do, it will be d1 by t into 9 by t1. So my v1 by v2 is 9 by t. Okay. So now we have to eliminate t. Okay. Now if I look at it more closely, I see that v1 is also, because this train has covered this entire distance, right, in a time of t plus 16. So I will keep it here as v1 by v2 is nothing but 9 by t, and then I will quickly find another equation for this. Okay, so for this particular part we have already done this, and now for the next part, very quickly we will, for this part also, let us say this is d2. Okay, so v2 here is nothing but d2 by t, because it covered this part d2 in t time, and again v1, this train took 16 hours to cover this area. Again the distance is d2 only, so we can write it as d2 by 16. So if I have to write v1 by v2, I can write it as t by 16, right? So I have now not one but two formula for v1, in fact two equations for v1 by v2. So I can equate these, and the sharp ones, see this is 144, so t becomes 12. Okay, and now you put t anywhere, so v1 by v2 is t by 16, so I will put 12 by 16, which is 3 by 4, right? And v1 was the speed of the train which was coming from Patna. Now here the Howrah train, it is mentioned first, so it will be 4, and so the question is actually asking you to find out v2 by v1, and therefore the answer is 4 by 3. Now if you try to solve this question using the conventional method, you will get into a number of equations, and therefore this concept of when this speed is fixed, when the distance is fixed, your speed is inversely proportional to your time. This is the concept that we have used, and we have actually broken down this question in a very simple question and solved it. But from an examination point of view, these are the questions that you should always attempt towards the later half of the examination.